How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to episode number 28 of the Flight Time Podcast. We took a week off. I think Ken and I just missed each other. I know that I'm getting a little bit busier as school is continuing on, but I've got one more semester left. And what we wanted to talk about today was the coronavirus. Not necessarily the disease or the virus itself, but we want to talk about how it's going to be impacting, honestly, drones, but also just technology in general, because think about how much comes out of China. So, it's like right around the corner, we have all of these drones coming out, but then we also have a lot of factories and a lot of companies closing their doors because I guess they're just telling people to stay home and to stay inside and not catch this disease. So look, I do just want to say this and get it out there. I'm not complaining. I understand they've got to do what they got to do. So, they need to make the right decision, and the right decision is to close their doors. But it is something worth talking about because it could put a halt on a lot of stuff that we've been talking about over the past week or months.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily a bad thing that they are, closing doors, so to speak. I will say that, even with DJI being closed, I placed an order for, what was it, Ronin SE handle and like a monitor clip, and I got it in 3 days. So there is still a fair amount of stock of existing products here in the US. Mm-hmm. So if you are wanting to buy something from DJI, it's probably going to come from one of their distribution centers locally here in the US for anything that they already have in stock. But eventually, obviously, that stock will run lower and lower and lower, and we'll start to see shipping dates slip, I should say. But I don't think it'll be anytime soon that we will see that. And I don't think they'll ever let it get that low. They are stating that the 9th of February is their sort of cutoff date. And if you think about that, that's only 3 days away, is what they anticipated their closing to be, or till. And obviously, you also have the Chinese New Year that's going on, and it's a big celebration. So there's a lot of things that are happening overseas that, we don't particularly see. And, every year they have that celebration, Chinese New Year. So, but I guess we just never really think about it because there's not as much attention on it.
Yeah, it's true.
It's not usually a bunch of sick people. But I anticipate these quarantines to last longer than the 10th. The way I'm interpreting a lot of these emails and just sort of the cryptic tweets that are coming out of some of these camps, yeah, they're bracing to be closed for quite a bit.
Yeah, I agree with that. Out of all of the companies out there, drone manufacturers, kind of in particular, DJI is probably the only one that's going to have this massive stock already over here in the United States. So, we probably are going to see that there's absolutely no issue getting a drone from them if you order it. I know that, they're still probably selling a lot of Mavic 2s, but also they don't have many things right now that are in crazy demand. I mean, I know the Mavic Mini just came out, but things have definitely calmed down since then. And I'm sure that if you're in a pickle in the next month, maybe they start to run low on stock and they're not able to catch up and kind of build this stock back up. You can always look around at different people who might have drones in stock, right? There's always Best Buy. You could also take a look at DroneWorks, right? Through your dealer. There's just so many different options you can always look through. So is it the end of the world? Again, no, but we are going to see a lot of things halted. And I think that the biggest thing that everybody's waiting on and was halted for different reasons was the Autel Evo 2. But we could see an even further, release date now because of the coronavirus. Now, I don't know the direct effect that it's had on them. They've been quiet because I know that DJI posted a statement and 00 posted a statement, but Autel hasn't said anything.
They haven't been really quiet though, which was sort of weird. They've been quiet, but they haven't been quiet. They've been teasing photos out on Instagram, Facebook. They just recently also, if you notice, all their social media avatars are now like this silver color, which is a little weird. It's different. So they've silently been making a lot of little changes, which is weird because if you said to me, hey, I have a product that I'm going to delay, I'm gonna sort of be low key. I'm gonna sort of try to fade away a little bit so people forget that I just said that. But here you got Autel Robotics that is basically doing all these changes, and they're continuing on with their social media campaigns. So it makes me believe that the drone isn't going to be quite as delayed as they made it appear to be or seem to be.
Hey, that'd be nice. I mean, if you think about it, it's always good for it to be the other way, right? Like you'd rather
100%.
You'd rather the delay be longer, or I mean shorter than longer. So they're kind of they're under promising and over delivering, which is always a good way to go about it. And I'm looking here on
I think that's
their
exactly
Twitter.
what they're doing.
It is pretty interesting that they changed their thing to like a white
Isn't that
silverish.
That is just such a peculiar thing. And I just caught it the other day. I was looking at it, and I don't know. And the way I sort of interpret that too is I'm wondering if they're going to introduce other colors alongside this release.
That'd be so nice.
It would be so great, because I know for me personally, I mean, I really wanted a matte black or something, but I'm wondering if we're going to see another color. Because once upon a time, when the X-Star Premiums were out, you can get a white X-Star Premium, which it really did look like a Phantom.
Oh, I can only imagine.
It really did look like a Phantom. So, I mean, it would be cool. I'm not going to bank on it, but it would be really cool if that was the case.
I saw that you uploaded a video, and I didn't get a chance to watch it, about, it was like the 0-0 video, like place your bets or whatever. What did you say in that video?
So basically, I feel like, I listened to, I read the tweet from 0-0. Basically, see, they've been quiet. So this is what caught my attention first. So 0-0 has been quiet since CES. They haven't tweeted anything. They haven't been active on social media since, what was it? Yeah, since CES. So they've tweeted out this. They said coronavirus related work closures currently slated until February 9th or later. We are monitoring the situation and doing our utmost to continue work through the quarantine. Okay, so right there, that's a lie. If you're quarantined, your factory is closed. You're not allowed to work. You're not allowed to be there.
They can send emails from their laptops at home or something, but that's about it.
Sure, that's about it. They said we will update with more info on when manufacturing can resume and the impact on V-Copter shipment dates.
It's like they're almost using it as an excuse because they already know they're gonna make it late.
I think the reality was this was never going to be ready by February, and they see that it was never going to be ready by February. And what they're basically using is, like, I even said, the first thing I said in the start of the video, I said 0-0 got the biggest break of the year because with the coronavirus, now they have a reason why they can be late. So it's one of those things where, I think it's going to be later. I don't think we'll see the V-Copter hit anybody's hands until May. I went on their Kickstarter campaign, and they just now ended their beta for their Hover 2. So people who backed that project, they just said on the 30th of December that their beta testing has completed and that they're working on production.
That's just
so. So it's like, how can anybody trust that? And then as soon as that video goes live, people are telling me that, they attempted to get a refund from them, and they've been waiting for 2 weeks for a refund.
Wow.
On the V-Copter. So, there's a lot of things that are going on there that I feel like they're just being dishonest about.
I'm looking at their tweet right now from CES about how they won the best of CES from Engadget.
Is Engadget stupid? Because did they see that fly? I didn't see that fly. How can you give something the best if you didn't see it actually operate?
Look, how often do you go to Engadget?
Never. I used to. Once upon a time when I was like into phones and crap, 15 years ago.
What did people have been saying, like CES instead of the Consumer Electronics Show, it's the Concept Electronics Show, and
Boom.
like the V-Copter is such a staple of that. I mean, it just seems like such a concept, and it's something that it's nice that it's a little bit different, And man, I don't want to sit here and just rag on this the whole time, but
you know, it's different for all the wrong reasons though. It's like what benefit does 2 props give you over 4? Okay, it's gonna be louder because it's those 2 props now have to work harder.
yeah.
Yes, you will have less redundancy because let's put it this way: the way that hangs up, you hit a tree branch, right? You lose 1 prop, you're not going to stabilize quite as quick. Like if you hit a tree branch with a quad, you're gonna, you know, those other 3 props can sort of stabilize the situation, but with only 2, you only can rely on the other one to do any of the work, and that's probably not going to happen. So I don't know. I think it's a step backwards. I know a lot of people are really excited about like this, but again, people are also excited about like power vision, you know?
Yeah.
So
wait.
it's like, I don't know.
I'm still scrolling down through some of these tweets from 00, and in their like teaser introduction video, the very first thing they do is show sort of like a hologram of a Mavic 2 Pro, and underneath of that it says marking the end of the quad rotor era. Like, come on, there's no end in sight of quad rotors.
No. So ridiculous. You know, and another thing too is like I think this coronavirus too sort of gives the drone companies a little bit of reprieve with
I'm still laughing about this.
I know you're just it's a pretty silly tweet, man.
All right.
I mean,
go ahead.
You good now?
Yeah, I'll put my mic on mute.
Happy New Year. So the other thing too is we get a reprieve, you know, in trying to determine what's going to happen with remote ID, because, you know, there's been all sorts of oddities that have been circling around that. Obviously, you probably heard that they've denied the request from the AMA to extend the comment period. So the FAA said, all right, we're not going to extend it, which makes me believe that all this is a lot more intentional than it would actually seem.
When is the end date again?
March 2nd.
Okay, I mean,
March
there's still a good
2nd.
amount
So
of time.
it's still a good amount of time for people to formulate an educated response.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, again, it makes me believe that there's already a predetermined foot plan here, and you got guys like, you know, AirMap and Kitty Hawk. They're super excited about this. They don't give a shit about us as whether you're a hobbyist, whether you're somebody who does this commercially. They don't care, because right now all they're seeing is dollar signs.
Yep.
Because they're like, whoa, we're going to be part of this regulation. So now they have dollar signs. But, you know, my thought process on this is, and the more and more I read about it and think about it and talk about the personal data collection around this, not to go too far off the coronavirus topic, is the fact that this is probably going to get tied up in court. I can see it. I can see a class action lawsuit occurring, because you're going to be collecting people's data. You want to know personal information about pilots, in which you don't even get from aircrafts. You know what I mean? You don't get that information from aircrafts.
It's really insane when you think about it, how much information that they're requiring. And, you know, I saw you responded to Brendan Schulman about his tweet when he was like, I can't even load YouTube on LTE. I wouldn't be able to fly my drone. I know that you said it was some sort of bug, but, like, that's so true. Like,
it is, but it isn't. I feel like he was being a little over dramatic. I get it. I get it. I feel like he was being a little over dramatic with that. I mean, I look at it from a technical aspect. Like, I have that problem. It's not a YouTube problem. It's a freaking iPhone problem with an Intel modem. I get that. You may have those problems. You may have those problems trying to load that. You know, and that could affect a lot of different people. But again, I still go back to the point that I don't think it's the fact that we need to let them know where we are, because we've never have. I think it's the fact that if you're going to have these commercial, you know, units transporting goods across the country, we need to know where they are, because one, you got companies like Amazon or UPS flying over our personal properties.
Yeah, it's true.
So I want to know what they're doing, you know, and, you know, what if one of these things fall out of the air and hit a car or something, you know, like, what's the deal with that? We make responsible decisions when we fly, not to fly over traffic, not to fly over crowds, but are these things going to be exempt all of a sudden? How are they going to know to avoid these situations? So I think it's really more or less for them. That's even if that's what they're really ramping this for. Who knows?
Well, so first of all, on your point of you're getting off the topic of the coronavirus, I don't think there's much talk about there. I mean, look,
Nah, it sucks.
it is what it is, and we're gonna have to sit around and wait. I'm not
I
pissed.
guess I didn't even
don't think
think
anybody's
about.
mad.
Did you even think about the fact that we're walking around CES, and like half of everybody was from China?
Yeah, could you imagine if that was during? Could you imagine if like this?
Oh
hit,
my goodness, man!
that
Jeez,
was
I got home because I've been sick past couple of weeks. I've been really, really sick, and of course it happens around the same time like the coronavirus is going on. I'm still like just battling the flu, but it's scary. I feel really bad for a lot of people over there because they don't have the right health care, and you know the cover ups with the government over there. So it's definitely pretty nasty. But
listen to this, okay? The weirdest thing ever. In fact, I don't know why I didn't call you immediately after it happened. I forget. I think I was talking to somebody else and it just totally slipped my mind. But I was doing a inspection job for a company in Philadelphia, right? It's right off of Broad Street, which is a little bit busier, but all they needed was the roof of this building. So I wasn't going over like the traffic. It was just the roof of the building next to Broad Street, and I was like right on the tip of Class B airspace. In fact, like if you look at it on Kitty Hawk, it like cuts through like the corner of one of the buildings. So I didn't apply for a length just because I was primarily outside of that portion, and if I was inside of that portion, it was maybe for 2 or 3 seconds, minutes, whatever. I mean, I was right there, right? So anyway, I put the drone up, and then in order to get a better, like, eye on the drone, I went across the street. So I was on the other side of the street. That gave me a better visual of the top side of the building, so I could see where the drone was as I was taking photos. So I'm sitting there and I'm looking down at my controller. I'm like kind of like bouncing up and down as I'm shooting the photos and as I'm taking a couple of different video clips, and I hear like click click, like two photos being taken, and I look up and this guy is right in my face. His phone is right in my face, and he said something like, "Do you know that flying a drone within the Philadelphia city limits is illegal according to FAA regulation something something or whatever?" Honestly, caught me so off guard, and I had my AirPods in because I kind of like, I'm not saying that they act as my radio, but sometimes when I get close to things, my controller beeps, and I didn't want that happening on the street. I just wanted to listen to it in my AirPods. So I like looked up and I looked at him and I was like, what? He goes, what are you doing here? Why are you flying your drone? And I was like, I'm just doing work. And then he goes, oh, okay. Walks back across the street and stands there with like another guy and just looks at me and is just staring at me. Like I've never had that happen before. Weirdest experience ever.
I probably wouldn't have handled that situation appropriately.
Dude, and that's the funny thing is as soon as that happened, I thought to myself, I was like, okay, what if I was Ken, or what if Ken was with me? Like either Ken or the other guy or both of them are going to leave in a cop car.
Probably so. Probably so. I mean, most of the time, like I go through that down here, like with the elderly people in some of the subdivisions. Like they'll just sneak up behind me and they'll be like, "Are you spying on me?" Blah blah. And most of the time I handle that situation well, and I show them what I'm doing. But I remember just recently, I was doing on a not an apartment complex. It was a condo, and these kids were like, "He's spying on you. They were like ragging on me, and my buddy Johnny was with me. He was like shadowing me. I was showing him like how to do the deal with the real estate deal. And I was just a complete dickhead to these kids. They were probably no more than like 9 or 10 years old. And I was just an absolute dickhead. I felt bad after the fact, but that annoys me. The whole spying thing, like when people say that, like it just like strikes a nerve with me. And I'm just like, fuck you. I didn't say that to the kids, but like, yeah, well, I just wasn't really nice.
Here's the thing. I've been flying drones in Philadelphia for 3 years, going on 3 years. And do I fly on Broad Street? No. Like, it's not a good place to fly. It was just because I was doing it for work. like usually when you come up or whenever I'm flying by myself, we're going to like the Schuylkill River or the Delaware River, flying around the bridges and flying around like Boathouse Row and the Art Museum. And those are great spots to fly. This was not a great spot to fly, but just to have like a phone shoved in my face, this dude was either taking photos or taking video. I got no idea what happened, but or what he was doing, but still, it was so weird. And then like for the rest of the time, he was just sitting over there on the other side of the street looking at me with some other dude. Like the weirdest thing ever.
I just think people are like genuinely are like afraid or just like they're not educated enough on this. But he sounded like he was though.
Yeah, he sounded like he knew what he was talking about, and after that, I was curious. I like scoured the internet if it was legal to fly a drone within Philadelphia, and I can't. There's no rules on not being able to. As far as I'm aware, again, I've been flying drones in Philadelphia for years, and I know that other people have been flying drones in Philadelphia for years. A lot of the people in Philly are actually really cool. Like even some of the police officers, just because sometimes that unfortunately happens that the police are either there and they see you when they come over and talk to you, or they get called just because somebody thinks that you're being a disruption. And they're always usually pretty cool. Like they'll let you go. They'll just say, hey, make sure you're not causing a disruption, blah, blah, blah. Kind of the typical things. But again, they're usually really cool, and the people are always usually very inquisitive and ask good questions. They're not like saying like, oh, can you spy on people? But still, just that whole scenario was very, very strange. You know who the guy, dude, he looked like Lon Denard with a beard. I know that Lon watches his podcast and likes to comment, but he looks like Lon Denard with a beard, which is it was so funny.
That's funny, dude.
I also thought, was I being trolled? Like, was some guy just coming up to me, just like messing with me? But he didn't seem like he was.
You never know. But like, I don't know. I just know I probably wouldn't have handled that well, especially there. Like in Philly, I feel like everybody's got a chip on their shoulder with certain things, and if you try I feel like passive sometimes doesn't work up there. Like, but you know, the reality is, I mean, like, there's not a damn thing that they can do at all. But yeah, that sort of sucks though.
Yeah,
it's going to be more. Could you imagine if somebody knew where you were, like with what like DJI is proposing to do?
Well, I mean, here's the thing:
somebody was able to have that app and go right up to you and know your name. That's freaking scary.
You're right, but I was right near the drone anyway, so it's kind of like, oh, you hear the drone do a 360, and the dude with the controller is the one flying it, and the dude knew where I was. I guess again, that kind of proves that he was educated and like understood like what I was doing and what to look out for. And I'm even looking here online. This was published on September.
He knew who you were, like as in from YouTube.
I don't know. He just knew like, okay, there's a drone. What do I need to look for? Probably spotted me out holding the remote controller and then said, okay, I'm going to go confront him. I'm even looking here on the City of Philadelphia website, phila.gov, drone safety information and frequently asked questions, and it just gives you everything you already know about what you need to do to fly a drone safely, what you need to do if you're a recreational pilot, 107, whatever, blah, 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 everything that everybody already knows and puts into place when they're going to be flying anywhere. There's nothing about like no drone flying in Philadelphia, so I don't know, a little bit weird.
Yeah, it's hopefully that's just the exception and not the rule. Like, I mean, that's just, I mean, that doesn't happen all the time. Like, I barely have people come up to me and ever really harass me, really, really ever. Like, like never really does that, usually happen.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, Here's another thing to talk about that's pretty interesting. I got my Skydio replacement today, my new Skydio 2. So they warrantied it, and they got me a brand new drone, which is pretty cool.
That is good.
I'm in the works of like putting together a video, and I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, of course they're going to give you a new drone because you've got a YouTube channel or whatever.
But they treat us about the same as everybody else. I'm actually, I've been sitting here like looking back at that Skydio. It's been sitting on my shelf for about 2.5, almost 3 weeks now. I haven't flown it. Every time I fly now, I either grab my Mavic Mini, I grab the Evo, or I'm grabbing the Mavic 2 Pro. I never grab it. And I said to my wife today, I said, you know what? I'm probably just going to sell it because it's going to sit back. I mean, yeah, I could do comparisons, but I just hate the drone that much. Like I honestly do.
Really?
Like I do, and I'll tell you, I wanted it to be so much better than it is, and it's cool. Okay, the tracking, it's cool to track, but like I never tracked myself before. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I never did that autonomous flight. I only did it because I had it. It was capable of doing it, but you can't really use it everywhere. Like everywhere where it would be cool to use it, you're either going to have cars, traffic, or people. And the drone to me is still too wildly unpredictable. It's great that they will back it up, but it's just, for me, like a couple of times, and things I haven't even put on video or film because I didn't feel like dealing with all the crap. It's just too unpredictable. And it's that I would say it's that 15 to 20% unpredictability that just freaks me out. And that's why I'm just going to sell it, because I can see something stupid happening to me that I would probably regret, or Skydio may not warranty, because they haven't, like, they don't just because you have a channel, they don't treat you any differently. They don't want that.
Yeah.
They don't want that example. You know what I mean? And I think that's what people fail to understand, is that they're going to treat you just like any other consumer. They didn't even know who we were before we started posting. You know what I mean? Like, we weren't on their beta list. They had these other people. You know what I mean?
I had to order my drone just like everybody else. I paid the full price for it.
Exactly.
Again, I'm working on a video that kind of goes through the steps of like what you can expect if your drone gets warranted. And there's a lot of really great facets of Skydio's support. There's a couple of things that just come to mind, right? I mean, I crashed this drone on the 27th, and it was like the night of the 27th, right? And they reached out to me that night. Now, that's the one thing where I feel like other people probably wouldn't have done to them. They reached out to me, but that's just because I made a huge stir about it. Like, I went and I posted a video about it that got a lot of views. I tweeted about it. There were people tweeting at Skydio, so they were aware of it. So they reached out to me, and then they were asking me for the logs. But what I do find interesting is that before I even gave them the logs, I guess because they had a lot of video evidence to look off of with like the drones recording and then also the screen recording I provided in my video, they were well aware that the drone was acting abnormally and said, look, we just want to let you know that we will be replacing this drone because we know that it malfunctioned, but we still want to see your flight logs.
That made no sense what that thing, that made no sense what it did.
And
like,
if you guys,
no sense.
If you guys haven't seen that video, depending on when you're listening to this, you can go ahead and watch it on my channel. It should be like the last video or the second last video that I uploaded. And like the drone kind of got stuck behind some trees. I got out of the car that I was in that it was tracking. And then
were you using the beacon on that?
I was using the beacon, and it kind of came out from behind the trees, put me in the frame, but it didn't recognize me as the subject. It started following me like it knew it was supposed to follow me, and then it darted to the right and down into the water. And if you guys listen really closely in the background, you can hear the splash. Look, I was laughing at the time, and people were like, oh, I would have such a different reaction. But the reason I was laughing at the time was because I knew the drone did something it wasn't supposed to, and Skydio was going to warranty it. I guess the
100%.
one thing was like, how am I going to get it? But fortunately, I had some guy there that I found that
you
I
lucked out, because what would you have done if he wasn't, like, this random dude wasn't walking around there?
Well, I mean, I would have gone out and purchased waders, and then I would have gone in myself at a later date. Now, here's the thing, is it was still fresh in my mind exactly where it was, and I tried to mark the area as best I could. I took some reference photos, some reference videos, but the good thing is it was still fresh in my mind. I told the guy, I said, look, just walk straight from here. He already had a little poker. He was able to feel around on the floor of the water for it, and he found it, I mean, probably within 4 or 5 minutes, which is great.
Let me tell you, you wouldn't get me in no Jersey water, dude.
Well, this
like,
was...
No way.
Here's the thing, is there wasn't current in this water. They were cranberry bogs. So,
Ugh.
Even if... Leeches, though.
I
mean, yes, but look, even if I came back, like... a day or two later, it would still be sitting in that same exact spot. It wasn't going to move. Now, there are two really good things that I can point out about Skydio's whole entire warranty process. First of all, they give you an advanced replacement. So they sent this drone out before I even sent them my drone. So that's really good. It's not like waiting around for me to send it to them.
Right.
They inspect it.
And to be clear, they do that for everyone, because I've seen a couple of other people that had to have warranties, not because they crashed it or anything, but because they had like a gimbal issue or something, and they got an advanced replacement, which I think is great. I think a lot of companies should do that.
Absolutely. And here's another good thing. They shipped it over UPS Next Day Air, which is probably the most expensive shipping option that you could get. They shipped it on the 4th, and I got it on the 6th from California all the way to Philadelphia. So the entire support process was just great. Hats off to Skydio, because they really do know how to take care of their customers, and there was full transparency the whole entire time. What they actually asked of me was to send back everything involved in that crash that I had. So I'm sending them the SD card, I'm sending them the drone, I'm sending them the beacon, I'm sending them the battery, the case, and everything. And they sent me a brand new beacon and a brand new drone, which is just so awesome. So
I wonder if that's an issue with the beacon just in general, because I've seen a lot of, the oddities that I see do occur with the beacon, and not when I track with the controller. Because my thing is, like, so they say that you shouldn't fly over water 30 meters wide, like over 30 meters wide, which, I mean, okay, so 30 meters is pretty wide. Like, that's pretty wide. So
I don't understand how the width of it has to do with, like, what it can and can't see.
I don't know. But what I have noticed is that it does react better with a controller than it does with the beacon when you are specifically over water. So I think like my rule of thumb will be, if I do decide to keep this thing and I'm flying near water, it's going to be, okay, I'm going to fly with the controller and I'm not flying with the beacon. I actually don't really like the beacon all that much, because it just does some really random goofy crap. It's a cool concept, but it's not perfected. And I think if they just had a little bit of time to perfect it, it would be so much better. And I also too, the other thing too, I think is a big issue, is wherever the radios are positioned in this drone. I wonder if sometimes it loses signal, because it seems like it's in the back side of the drone. So if you're tracking from the front, you're sometimes you're going to get a better signal than if you're tracking from behind. And if you're going behind trees or something like that, again, you're going to have a different experience. So I think their best bet would be, okay, up the antennas or fix the position, at the very least.
Yeah, and I don't even know where I'm guessing the antennas is like an afterthought because of the nature of this drone,
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, they need them anyhow, because you got to have communication to whether it be a phone or you have to have communication to the beacon. So one way or the other, you need some sort of communication.
They're betting on the drone always being relatively close to you so that it still has a somewhat strong signal. I would say that if you're not, look, here's the thing. If you're going to buy this drone, I'd recommend getting both the beacon and the controller. The beacon is great for when you don't have like two hands, but the fact that I was in the car in the passenger seat, I do think that the controller would have fared me better, because I have more finite control over exactly what it does, where it follows me from. I can actually tell it where to go,
I know they have a crash warranty, but isn't there something else they have? They have another warranty that you can pay for? But they have like an insurance. Like, I feel like they should have almost got like some sort of third party to fund an insurance policy like that you can purchase. So that way, if you have an accident, it's not always falling on them. So you sort of have some sort of safeguard in case if it's something that occurred that wasn't because of the drone or whatever the case is. I just feel like there should be some sort of safeguard. Maybe they do, but I could be wrong.
That would be really
almost like
interesting.
a DJI Care, almost like a Care Refresh, but a Skydio Care Refresh or something.
They'd probably come up with a different name.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, obviously we don't want to get sued, but it's something along those lines. Just because I think with a drone like this, you almost need it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You almost definitely need it.
Here's something that was interesting. I have an iPhone, and I went to go and upload my Skydio logs to them, but they weren't there within the application. So what I did instead was plug my phone into the computer, drag the files from the Skydio 2 app in the Finder application, or in the Finder on your Mac, drag that over onto like your desktop or whatever, and then I uploaded that to Google Drive and sent it to them that way. So I was like, I was kind of afraid because, I mean, look, I've got a lot of really good information. I've got the video, I've got the screen recording, I've got a lot of good things to kind of back up my claim about this drone. But at the end of the day, I was like, oh, are they not going to go through with the warranty because I don't have the logs? But I did send them the logs, and I'm hoping that they're going to be able to give me an answer in terms of like what happened, because I mean, it's almost, I would say, unacceptable what happened. You know, I mean,
No,
this thing.
I agree. I agree, and we don't even have this thing in full swing in a lot of people's hands. You know, I'm just now starting to see more people get their orders completed. Like we're just barely through batch. You know, we're just now getting through batch 1. Just
Getting
about
into batch 2.
Getting into batch 2, and then of course there's some people that placed their order and they didn't complete their order, so they'll get a refund for that $100, but it's just because they've maybe forgot to go through with it, whatever the case is. But you know, we're going to see more and more the stories of this thing having these odd situations, because again, there's no compass in this drone, so it's everything it's doing is visual. So the light, the ambient light that this thing has and what it can see visually will really depend on whether or not this is going to be a great flight or a bad flight. So that for something that, you know, was so uncrashable, has a lot of caveats that I think people just probably aren't aware of.
Yeah, you're totally right.
So little scary, little scary. I don't know. It left a bad taste in my mouth. The last couple weeks.
I mean, I'd recommend going and checking out that video, guys. I think that I put a timestamp in the beginning. You can skip to like 13:54, and that'll get you to the time of the crash if you want to go watch it.
You know what sucks about that video? It's like a horror movie, because it's a long video for one. It's you know, longer than normal. It's 13 minutes ish, and you know the whole time it's like watching the Titanic. You know Jack's gonna die. You know the Titanic's gonna sink, but it's just when. And like as soon as it happens, dude, it was just like, oh my God, like your heart sinks, and then of course your reaction just freaking priceless.
I know. Yeah, that's a story that I'll like tell forever. It's honestly so weird. But yeah, so you know, I know that we were a little bit all over the place today, but there is kind of like a lot of things going on. The Skydio thing, FAA remote ID. I mean, that's going to be, you know, for the next month talked about, and then once the comment period is up, it's going to be interesting to see what the FAA does, and then also coronavirus, right? How that's going to be impacting drone sales and drone production, drone manufacturing. I mean, even if DJI has anything in the works, if any of these companies have anything in the works, their R&D and their marketing could also be postponed, and it might even be postponed for longer than their manufacturing. So you know, it's kind of going to be something that we just need to wait out. Again, it sucks. There's nothing we can do, and it's not like any of us can be mad about it, but it's just something that you just kind of got to wait out.
Part of life, unfortunately, or you know, part of this situation that, you know, which again, just gonna have to wait till it plays out. But if you think about it like this, sort of saving us money from having to buy something new, gives them some time, gives DJI some time to ponder, you know, what their next move is going to be. Yeah, and then true. Obviously gives Autel a little bit of time to figure out what you know they're doing. Yep. You know, and I was thinking back to them calling, you know, basically stating the delay. If they would have waited like 2 more days, they could just played it off on coronavirus, and nobody would have ever been the wiser.
So here's the thing that I think about that, right? I think that myself and a lot of other people can commend Autel for bringing such a dope product to market, but saying, look, we're going to wait and make the necessary refinements and adjustments to make sure that this is going to live up to our standards. So while it sucks and while it's like, wow, how is this oversaw? Like how is something going wrong when you're this close?
They did find software. They did find something with the camera efficiency that they wanted to test to make sure that they didn't have a hardware, but I believe from what I've heard is that they've got it fit. They've got it fixed, or they've got it to the point where they can implement it widely.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that is the case. But it involves them flashing now, however many production units they already have ready to go.
Well, you know what? Here's my whole comment on that, right? They said that they didn't want to have people do a day one update with their drone, but that's just like a way of life for me. Like whenever I get a new drone, I always take it out inside on my desk, in my office. I turn it on. I kind of play around with it. I update it. I calibrate everything. So like a day one update wouldn't be a deal breaker for me then.
No, it's not a deal breaker. But here's what I think really boils down to for them is think about what happened with the Evo 1. Day one, this thing had horizon tilt like you wouldn't imagine and had a lot of little oddities. I think for them, they don't want to deliver another product where there's controversy right at the go, because think about how many videos hit online about that, and you look, you search horizon tilt. I mean, there's a lot, and that can tarnish future sales. And they had to really, market heavily and spend money to get around those issues with the Evo 1. So I think, with this one, they're like, listen, we can either, put it in people's hands, say, hey, go ahead and run your updates, or it's just ready to go right out of the box. And I think they've opted to just ship a finished product. It's just like what we do. Think about what we do. If you notice an imperfection in your video, it's not a major imperfection, but it's one that you notice. You're not gonna let that video go. You're probably gonna fix that imperfection before anybody else sees it. And that's the same thing that they're doing.
You're totally right. All right, guys, thanks for listening. If you guys want to continue the conversation, my Twitter handle is @BillyKyle. Ken's is @OriginalDobo. We're always on over there. So if you guys want to come over and talk a little bit about some of the things we touched on in this episode, feel free to do so. Ken, you got anything else?
Nope, that's it. And if you haven't already, be sure that you were checking us out on either Spotify or Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and then, of course, you can always hit the subscribe button on this channel. As that works just as well. And hit us up on Twitter.
We're on a bunch of different platforms, so you can check out the description on any of the platforms that you're listening to, find a list of what we got going on. And if you are listening on YouTube and you wish we were on Apple, well, we are on Apple. We're also on Spotify, Google, SoundCloud. Those are the ones that come to mind right off the top of my head, but pretty much all the major platforms we're on over there if that works out for you. I guess we will catch you guys in the next episode.
We'll see you next time.